Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for You Gotta Believe's first virtual panel, Anything But Normal, a roundtable with former foster youth discussing the COVID-19 pandemic. My name is Jennifer Pinder, and I am You Gotta Believe's new executive director, and I am beyond excited to be here with you this evening. We have some exciting discussions prepared for you today. The primary focus of YGB's work is to find permanent, loving, committed families for older kids in foster care. I was initially drawn to YGB's work simply because of my own personal story. I was placed for adoption at birth, and because of that, I just have an intense appreciation for family. I just have no idea how I would navigate through this complicated world without the loving support of my parents and my older brother. And it really just is unfathomable to think that people have to consider trying to figure out how to get through this world without that sort of stability. I left my parents' house many moons ago to attend college, and I continue to rely on them pretty frequently, not only for moral support, but quite honestly, for financial support. Still to this day, you can ask them, they'll tell you. And because everyone should have that level of stability and support in their lives. And that is why I've joined the fight with YGB, to make sure that no child ages out of foster care without the support of family. And very integral component of the work that we do are our YGB parents. We, throughout the year, train folks to become foster and adoptive parents. And I just want to give any of our YGB parents who may be watching us right now an opportunity to drop something in the chat to let us know that you're out there. We really appreciate the work and the commitment from you. Even if you're not a parent, drop something in that also. We want to know who's out there. We want to hear from you. We want to know where you're watching. And thank you for joining us. And while you're sending your messages in the chat, I'll take a couple of moments to let you know what these next 30 to 40 minutes will look like. For one quick note, that we did have a panelist that has a conflict today. Kimmy, unfortunately, will be unable to join us. But we named this panel Anything But Normal, because it just is not normal to expect people to have a successful life if they don't have the support of family. You will hear some compelling and powerful stories directly from former foster youth. They both spent an enormous portion of their lives navigating the foster care system, one of whom eventually was matched with family, and one of whom aged out of the foster care system without being matched with family. There will be an opportunity for live Q&A at the end of their discussion, but please feel free to enter your question into the chat at any time. And also attach your email to the question. We want to make sure that if for some reason we don't get to your question during the program, we can follow up with you afterwards. You will also have opportunities to donate throughout this evening's program. I will encourage you to text donate to 718-865-2425, or simply go to yougottabelieve.org and click the donate button. We are a small nonprofit doing very challenging work, and we rely heavily on our donors. And I'd like to personally thank those of you who have donated in the past, and we hope that you will continue to support us. When we get to the end of the program, I will share some more details about how your contributions will help us and our youth, and will provide additional opportunities to provide support to You Gotta Believe and to engage with us. And before we dive into our discussion, the reason why you all are here, I do want to share a quick video so you all will get a little more oriented with the work that You Gotta Believe does. that just gives you a taste as to why the mission of You Gotta Believe is so important. And we have a team of incredible people who are working around the clock to make sure that not only our youth, but that our parents continue to have the support that they need. And obviously the pandemic has made providing those services even more difficult. But our team has found innovative ways to continue to provide support, and in some cases provide added layers of support for folks that are quarantined. We are also receiving emergency funds from some of our donors to provide assistance to our youth who have not been placed with family yet, as many of them have lost jobs and don't have family to fall back on to rely on for support. And these are the types of stories that you would read in The Imprint, which is formerly known as the Chronicle of Social Change. And we are so delighted this evening to have as our moderator, Megan Kahn. And Megan is not only a contributing reporter to The Imprint, she is a friend to YGB. Megan first became connected with You Gotta Believe when she wrote her first story about foster care when she was at CUNY's Newmark Graduate School of Journalism. And we are so happy to have her here tonight. And I'm going to pass it to Megan, and she'll talk a little bit more about her work, and she will start the discussion with our panelists. Megan?
Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks so much for having me here. I'm really glad to be here with you and with our panelists tonight. So as you mentioned, I write for a news website called The Imprint. And we really focus on the experiences of people who are growing up in foster care, adoptive families, and also child welfare and juvenile justice topics. So it was, really fantastic when I first connected with You Gotta Believe, because, it was through your organization that I was able to actually meet people who have experienced this in their own life. Which can be kind of hard for some people, in the general public to do. Sometimes you may not know someone's background or their family history. And so I think often people don't hear these stories and they can become kind of invisible. So what we want to do at The Imprint, and what also I know You Gotta Believe wants to do, is kind of bring these stories out into the light and, allow people to know what's happening. One of the big issues that we've been covering during the pandemic at The Imprint is the issue of aging out of foster care, which is, extremely difficult even before COVID. But now that schools are closing their doors and, businesses are laying off their workers, it's become extremely difficult for young people who are about to leave foster care and head out on their own. So some of the big stories that we've done this year have been, there was a program called the Dorm Project where students who are in foster care could live in the CUNY dorms like year round, but they actually did have to move out of those dorms during the pandemic. And it was kind of very disruptive for a lot of those students who weren't sure where else to go. That was one of our big stories. And we've also covered, several states have decided to not allow or to permit people to stay in foster care beyond their 21st birthday during the pandemic. But New York has actually not made that change. So it's really up to every individual county whether young people will be aging out during the pandemic or not. And so New York City is allowing most people to stay in care if they want to, but that's not the same in every county around the state. So those are just some of the issues that older foster youth are coping with today during the pandemic. So even for foster youth who are connected with families, these very challenging year can be re-traumatizing or triggering. And so we're really grateful and fortunate to have two great panelists here with us today, Rico and Daquana, who are willing to share their stories about growing up and entering adulthood. It's very courageous for them to speak out, and it's an honor for me and for all of us to get to hear what they have to say. So I want to go ahead and invite Rico and Daquana to introduce themselves. And as you introduce yourself, would you each kind of share your connection to the foster care system and whether or not you were connected with family when you exited, and also give us an update, where are you today?
Hi, how you doing?
Hello. I am Daquana. I'm a survivor of the foster care system. I actually aged out. And when I say survivor, I mean to take that literal. My time at foster care, what that means to me is um, unstable. I was unstable the whole time I was there. I was mentally and emotionally abused. I wasn't taken care of as if I was in a family. I was actually prepped to be institutionalized. I went from facility to facility. I was classified under the bad kid rule, to where, that makes you even more not acceptable to being adopted out, or, to have a family. That's the key word to know. Nobody's ever going to take her, because that comes on my file like a big red stamp, bad child. When I originally went to foster care, I was not there for that. I was there because I was neglected and abused physically, and I was removed. Both of my parents were incarcerated at the time. So I was in foster care from a very young age up until like maybe 16ish. Then I was then returned to my birth mother. But while in there, I didn't have stability. I've been to so many places where I felt uncomfortable. I felt I had to put on my survival tactics, where it was more of a battle for my life, a battle to just be safe, a battle to just, okay, I'm here, deal with it, because they're going to come and remove me in a week. Don't get comfortable. It was never no love. I can't say that it was ever any love, but I made it to where I learned how to cope. At the end of the day, I did a lot of things. I acted out. I felt like nobody was listening. So I fought in every institution they put me in. Every foster home they put me in, I fought. And then it was one that was actually awesome. Miss Janelle Jackson. She was one of my foster mothers. I was actually an army brat for a while. It was so new to me, but I was the only kid there. And she actually showed me what love was. So I'm not going to sit here and say all foster parents suck, but the ones that I've encountered in the group homes and the children's prisons, because that's exactly what they are. They're not um, built to nurture. They're just there to babysit. These kids being in those programs and different stuff, they're not gaining anything. They don't have hope. When you see these children, you're supposed to, they were put there to be the safe and stable and um for people to, care about them. And in all actuality, a lot of people are not equipped. Me going to foster care, I was there with mental issues, emotional issues. I had been through so much, and not everybody can love my type of child. That may scare a few people. But then I got involved with YGB. By the grace of God, I did a speaking engagement with them, and from there I met so many good people, and with that I could say that's like the closest thing to family that I have. I think that's about where I'm going. Am I saying too much, or you want me to? Okay.
Us off. Thank you so much for starting us off, Taquana. That was perfect. And we're definitely going to get back more into your story and experiences. Let's have Rico introduce himself first.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? My name is Rico, and my connection to the foster care system is that I'm an alumni. I grew up in foster care. I entered foster care at the age of 6, returned home at 8, re-entered at 11, and in that time in foster care, I've been through about 5 different placements. And in those 5 placements, each one was pretty much difficult for me. By the age of 14, I could say I got in trouble with the law. At 15, I got sent to an RTC, and I got connected to a social worker who then took me in and cared for me. Um, Today, I'm a youth advocate for kids in foster care. I go to city council and speak for youth in foster care and advocate for youth and speak on different issues and services that, things that these youth need in order to be able to prosper and move on. And why we deserve to live in a home with a family and live comfortably. So that's pretty much what my role is as a foster care alumni here with You Gotta Believe. And thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, we're so glad to have both of you here. And I'm really looking forward to getting to speak with you. Just to start off, let's start off with the elephant in the room, the COVID pandemic. It's really turned this year upside down. So, it's been about 6 months now. Let's go back to the very beginning in March. And I want, can each of you tell me, where were you when the pandemic first started to hit, and what became your biggest challenge when everything started to shut down? So Rico, why don't you start here?
Okay, so when the pandemic started, I was here in New York, and I was working every day here with my family and whatnot. And what was challenging about the pandemic is that I had to deal with challenges of having to adapt to such a drastic change in such a short amount of time with no warning. Everything just changed drastically. One day life was one way, and the next day life was a different way. Uh, so there was a little bit of tension kind of built up in my home, where we were kind of just beginning to feel like we were suffocating. We weren't able to go outside just to get some fresh air, for example. I was used to working um, long hours. My children were used to going outside and playing every single day in the park. In the mornings, majority of the time, they would go out and spend some time in the park for about an hour and a half. My wife was used to going to work every single day, waking up at 6 in the morning, stopping at Starbucks, getting a coffee, and those sort of things. So with the lack of mobility and uncertainty on when things were going to go back to normal, it kind of took some time. So the first 6 weeks were kind of difficult for us, and we adjusted surely, slowly but surely. It took some time, but in the very beginning, it took a toll on us, and I don't think we'll ever be the same from the toll that it took on us. The amount of fear, the amount of questions that we had. I think all of that affected us mentally in a way that I don't think we'll ever be the same way again as people.
And thanks, Rico. How about you, Daquana? Where were you at, and how did COVID challenge you?
Oh my! In the beginning, when it originally started, I was more nervous about, how am I going to pay these bills? How am I going to get back and forth to college and still, be home to, attend to my children. Um, it was on top of like running out of food, just regular worries that a mother goes through. What companies were open, who you could get resources from. It's a lot, and it still is. Like I struggle with that to this day. Like, trying to reach out, what companies, what nonprofits are really helping, what food pantries are open, because it's really people out here that don't have anything, and me myself, I'm glad that I have, you guys, because you guys definitely helped with certain things. So and I'm still going through it. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're not through it yet.
Mm-mm.
And I think, Jennifer told me that You Gotta Believe has distributed some emergency funds during the pandemic. Did either
Yeah,
of you benefit from that?
I did actually. Was a few weeks back for utilities, because my utilities were just piling up and piling up and piling up, and it's like, you would think they would put a hold on some of the utilities or your rent, or for the less fortunate people, even the people with jobs, it's gonna just keep continuing to back up. So yes, YMG definitely assisted me with my utilities, and I'm forever thankful. So thank you guys.
Yeah, definitely makes a big difference.
It does.
Yeah,
Now I kind of, oh, go ahead, Rico.
yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. So I personally um I believe I did receive also something for for groceries. I think it was. I can't remember quite clear, but what I do remember clearly, very clear, is that I have a younger sister that's in college and she lives in Chicago, and she at the moment doesn't really have much support, from anyone. So, and that can make living right now extremely difficult in the circumstances that we're in, right? So, I reached out to YGB. I had her reach out to YGB because she is an alum, foster care alum, and they helped her out with $500, and that took her a long way, and it made her extremely happy because she was saying to me that she was kind of trying to figure out where she was gonna get something else, get some extra cash or something to hold her over on food, until she was able to go back to work. So, that was very, it was a blessing. It was very nice and generous of them to really reach out to her and take her in with open arms, and giving her that grant to be able to survive another day comfortably and not have to go out there and do anything crazy. I know she's a female,
Right.
but you never know what comes to our minds in a time of need, and especially in time of survival, and especially in time of fear, because when fear kicks in, there's the thinking is very limited. We're not thinking too clearly. We're more thinking of how can we get rid of this pain, how can we get rid of this situation quickly and safely. And we go to the quickest thing that we may be able to think of if we don't have any support from any family or anyone that's close to us as a friend, or even a agency like YGB. Some youth that's been helped are not a part of the agency, but they are foster care alum, and they were also assisted, in which has helped with keeping. In my personal opinion, it helped keep crime down in some ways.
Okay. I'm glad you had said that, Rico. I have a son that just graduated high school. He went away to college, to the university in California, and I have reached out to YGB, and they assisted my son so he can get cosmetics, snacks, just to hold him off between classes. And he didn't have anything out there. I'm a single mother, so that meant a lot to me, because he was, calling me and asking me, and the fact that I could depend on the program to help my son was everything, because he was stressing me out. So
Yeah, you both make very good points. I mean, it makes such difference to have someone looking out for you. Rico, it sounds like your sister's very lucky to have you, kind of keeping an eye out for her. For your own self, what difference has it made to have your family to rely on in this difficult time?
So that's part of the story that I didn't mention in the beginning. I kind of forgot I didn't forget, but I was gonna anyway. So I got my social worker really took the time to really teach me a lot of things, and the knowledge that she gave me, I didn't take it all in the beginning. I ended up taking it in and holding it, not purposely. I didn't realize that I was, but at 24 years old, when I moved out, that's when things began to kick in, and I began to realize the skills that she taught me. So now in my adult life, future, those skills has helped me to stay afloat, and also, having someone to speak to from time to time, just to that understands where you're coming from, because they know you, they're not judging you either, and it felt good. It made things a bit easier to handle, and it gave me a sense of direction. Had I not had that, I would probably be in a panic and just uncomfortable, and just a little unstable, because sometimes when you're holding things in, they manifest into other things. But I was able to call my mom. I was able to call, it's her aunt, but I call her grandma. Her name is Cutie. Yeah, because she's much older, so I call her grandma. So and there's a lot of grandkids, and they call her grandma. So Cutie, I keep in contact with her, and she also is very supportive of me, and she tells me she's proud of me, she loves me, and those things help, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, and so for Rico, for you, your mom actually started out as your social worker, is that right?
Yep. Yes.
And how old were you when you kind of moved more towards like a parent relationship with her?
Okay, so I moved in with her when I was 17, and when I didn't, I left. Excuse me. I moved in with her only because I didn't have any other choice. That's how it started for me personally. I didn't want to age out and be homeless. I didn't want to age out and be on the street. So when things really began to click was after about 2 years. So I moved in at 17. By 19 years old, we became really close, and we started doing a lot of family events together. There was always family events, but I wouldn't want to be a part of the events. I would want to do other things. So around 19 now, I began to kind of soften up, I guess, and allowed myself to become part of the family. They were there with open arms. They called me by my name from day one. They didn't treat me like a stranger. And I guess that's what really allowed me to let down the guard, because they were very consistent. They were genuine with it. And that's what happened. So around 19, I let my guard down, and things things just kept continue to wasn't perfect, but things continued to blossom. It was not perfect at all. I used to drive off with the car in the middle of the night and go to the club with my friends, and I'm in New Jersey, Queens, and so on and so on, and then back home. So it wasn't perfect, but I learned a lot. I got good survival skills, and a good support system from it with them.
So it sounds like it did take a little bit of time for you to get that connection. But now that you're a father yourself, I wanted to ask you, how has having found your own family changed how you show up as a father and as a parent?
Okay, so in the it was very emotional for me in the beginning, being a dad, because of the amount of love and compassion that I give my children. I envision myself receiving that love and compassion from a parent. So I envision my son being me, and me being my parent, being loving to myself. So it was a bit emotional in the beginning, but with the support of the family, it gave me more and more and more uh, strength to really just, not that I was ever going to bail, but it gave me strength to become sturdy and not nervous in any kind of way about my parenting, and um, how I wanted to raise my children. That they gave the way that things worked out for me living with my family. It gave me an idea of how to nurture my kids. It was an example for me. Um, Honestly speaking, I don't think, if I didn't have that example, I think I would have maybe been um, I would have been I would have maybe had my kids with blue bandanas on or something like that, or I don't know. I would have been just doing something weird and foolish, honestly, because that's what I thought was cool at the time. I thought it was cool. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And I'm really interested also to hear from you, Daquana. I know you're also a mom. How was your parenting affected by, how you grew up and having to age out pretty much on your own?
I'm gonna say, like, Rico, you are inspiring. The fact that you had something so different than me, that would have been awesome. I think I would have changed. I would have been completely different if I had someone that, took to me. I had several caseworkers and dealt with different people. Nobody ever took me serious. Nobody ever took the time out to uh, give a little tender love and care and teach me the rights, from wrongs. I couldn't tell you what it was to have a hug or be told that I'm proud of you or I love you or I'm here to stay. You know, that wasn't a part of who I was or what I was taught. So when I started having my own kids, it was different for me. My thing was I could never leave them. I could never be the parents that my parents were, not knowing what my parents been through. And I'm not here to judge them, but I could never be them. I could never be the staff in the facilities I had, you know, experienced, or the caseworkers that was supposed to see me through, see me safe, and you know, take me to the next level of being a better me. With my kids, I think I overdo it sometimes, you know. As a mother, there is no book to this. And that's why I'm so keen on, you know, an 8-week course doesn't make you the perfect foster parent. You know, if that's the case, then all the parents that's in the world that never took this course are not official parents. It takes a lot more than just classes. And I knew that. I knew by me not being able to have a hug or being told I love you was going to be a problem for me and my kids. You know, at one point I couldn't even embrace my kids, like give them a hug, because it felt kind of weird to me. I was like, oh, you know, but I knew I had to, I prayed about it. And I was just like, you know, this is not right. You know, it has to be a different way. So I had to work on my emotions first. You know, I had to love me first. That way I could give it out to my kids. Now I overdo it. My kids, they be like, you know, I do this thing where I hug them like, do you feel the love? And they be like, yes, mom, let go. I feel the love. So it works for me. I take everything that I've been through, every challenge that I've been through, and I apply it in my everyday life. The things not to do, basically, you know, the red flags, like, no, you know. And I was more so physically abused, sexually abused, emotionally abused, verbally abused. You know, I've been through so much, and that's not something I want to see my kids go through. I would never see my kids go through that. So I try to tell them I love them often, even my older ones. You know, they boys, so they kind of, but I still do it. I make it my business to hug them and let them know I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. But I didn't have that pleasure of having a family. When I left, it was just me. They gave me to my birth mother that was in prison and just sent us on our way, you know. And I didn't get that glory. And to this day, I don't have a family that I could call my. I can't go to Nana house. I don't, you know, I can't go to auntie and them's cookouts and stuff like that, because that's not the life I have. And even when I am invited, it feels kind of awkward, because I'm like, okay, I haven't spoken to you people in so long, you know, so I just don't do it. I feel I have like a social disorder or something, but it doesn't stop me from being a decent mother. And I'm still learning, you know, every day I'm learning to be a better mother than I was the day before that. But I am nothing like the institutes and foster homes I've been in, period.
Yeah. Thank you both. Thank you both so much for reflecting on that for me, and for all of us. It's really powerful to hear how far you've come. And I just want to remind everyone who's watching that we're going to take some of your questions. So if you want to just pop those into the comments on the feed, we'll get to those in just a couple of minutes. So maybe one of my last questions for the two of you is, you know, if you were in charge of how the foster care system helps, you know, older youth who are getting close to aging out, what changes would you make to help them, and why? So Rico, let's start with you.
So I kind of sorry, excuse me. So I would want to more work on a family-oriented system to make sure that families can either be built strong or kept together, so that youth wouldn't have to endure a lot of the traumas that we've endured in our lives. Some of us endure more trauma than an adult has endured their entire life, but by the age of 6, 7 years old. So that's one of the things that I would change. And excuse me, I think that's it. I don't. Sorry.
Thank you, Rico.
Taquana?
The thing I would change is when they're doing these programs, I would really recommend that it's not the class that do it. I would really recommend like a concrete obligation. If they was to, like, when they go to have their own children, they're not just going to say, oh, I'm abandoning that kid because this kid made me upset, or I'm abandoning this kid because that kid is not the ideal what I thought my kid should look like, or whatever the case is. It should be a concrete contract to loving this child, because that's not fair to the kid. You get a child's hopes up high, like, oh my God, I'm going to this home, and then you get there and a week later you're in somebody else's home. Like, that's really not fair. And that does mentally, that causes abandonment issues. That causes, children to overthink if they're good enough or not. So I think the criteria to be a foster parent shouldn't be just something you sign off on the line and it's cool. You have to stick to this and understand that it takes love, dedication, time, effort, tears. You know how many tears I cried as a mother? Everything's not gonna go how they expect it to go. You have to expect some type of dilemma or something when you're raising a child. You have to put that energy into it. Period.
Yeah. And last thing before we go to questions from our viewers, Daquana, I understand that you've recently authored a book, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I did, Megan. It's called Tears of a Lonely Child. And basically what it is a breakdown of pretty much every obstacle that I could fit in the book, and how I coped, and just taboo topics that a lot of people are afraid to talk about, just mentally, physically, spiritually, everything I went through. And this is from the age of 5 and up. So I can't, reach a whole bunch of people, but I hope that it's a message in my book that people receive. I'm giving a message in this book, period. Like, who's going to cry tears for that lonely child that's left in the foster care room with a padlock on the door, and only the foster father could get in there? Who advocates for these children? So I'm the voice, because I was not heard in foster care. Nobody wanted to listen. Everything was swept under the rug because I was considered the bad kid, period. And that is just a breakdown of how I did it, how I coped, how I got through it, and where I'm at now. So I hope people that do read it sees the message in it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very brave that you were able to put that all down on paper and share it with the world. So we're glad to hear about that. And Rico, I understand that you do some advocacy work also with You Gotta Believe. Can you tell us a bit about who you speak to and what you're trying to tell them?
Yes, so I do. So I go to city council whenever they have meetings coming up, and we speak on reasons why we should be funded, and we speak on reasons why the youth need to be with a family and why youth deserve a family. And I also speak at colleges. We go to different colleges and we educate individuals on what it is that You Gotta Believe does. And I tell my story pretty much at many different places, and we speak about different topics, different issues. Um, Also, I've done work where we've actually gone out to parents' homes, searching for connections for you. Sometimes we've even had individuals that couldn't speak English very well, so I would have to have translate or speak and communicate with them in Spanish. And so I pretty much have done a little bit of everything as far as advocating for youth and trying to improve youth lives as much as possible so that they won't age out of foster care without a home. Imagine being homeless uh, after being taken care of for so many years. So that is the main reason why I advocate for youth, and that's one of the things that I use when I'm up there speaking, to definitely give myself more motivation and some key points to talk about.
I'm sure that makes a big difference to, the young people of today, to have someone out there speaking for them. So now I'm going to turn to one of our questions from the chat. This is from Gretchen. The question is, what would you say to people who think teens are too old to find a family or don't want to be adopted?
Oh my.
I'll let you go first.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. Teen years are the most severe and intense years. These are the years where they need, the whole parents, the right from wrong thing. Like, this is where you redirect a kid's energy, to help them and to progress in life. I feel like that's just a person's way of saying I only want to adopt little babies, and that was a thing when I was in foster care. That's the thing they used the most. Like, teens don't get adopted out, period. They let us sit there and be babysat until we age out. I think it's unfair.
Yeah.
Rico, did you want to jump in too?
Yeah, sure. So what would I say to people who think teens are too old to have a family? I would say to them that teens deserve a family just like anyone else. And teens, your teen years is when you're trying to find yourself. You're trying to figure out what you like and what it is that you want to accomplish in life. So that is the main time that you need support from someone, or you need someone to just have your back to kind of give you, help you build confidence in who you are so that you can one day go out and live your life in the world and live in your career of choice, right? So if you don't have a family in your teen years, or you don't have any kind of guidance, even if even if the youth is being rebellious, they still need that lesson, even if it comes off a little harsh in words. They still need that because they're going to remember that a little later on. If a teen does not have that, then they're left to rely on locals, friends, or just their own imagination, TV. So you're like, doesn't it leaves the teen to just go in many different directions, and that can be very unhealthy for us all. It could be unhealthy. It's unhealthy. It is unhealthy for the youth. It's unhealthy for society. It's unhealthy for, in my opinion, it's unhealthy for humanity. I think that being in a family is part of being a person. It's part of growing. It's part of being able to, sometimes just relax and not have any worries. Have a plate of food, have people that really care about you and uplift you. So, teens, your teen years is when you need that the most, in my opinion, is when you really need it. Because all the trauma that you experience within those teen years are gonna start to boil up in your 30s, 20s. But if you have support in your teen years, now when you're an adult in your 20s and 30s, you can look back at that situation and have a conversation with someone and say, thank you so much for, giving me advice that day. I know I didn't listen to you, but today, I applied that and it actually did work. And I think I'm going to, you never know what you may get in return by doing something out of kindness from your heart.
Yeah.
In keeping the teen afloat and elevated. Youth are the future. So if we're talking future, everyone wants, in my opinion, we electing presidents and things like that. We can treat the youth a certain way so that we can have a better society overall.
Nice.
We raise the youth and keep teens at a level of stability where they're calm and they're able to think and make mistakes and not be ridiculed for what they're doing, because they're learning. They're trying to figure out what they want to do in life. They don't know if they want to be a journalist. They don't know if they want to be a doctor. They don't know. They're trying to figure this out. That's the main time that people need help. That's the main time when someone deserves support. So teenagers need you just as much as a baby, just as much as anyone else that you may know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, and it's great that both of you remember so clearly what it was like to be a teenager. Because sometimes I think we think we forget as we get older, but it's still in there.
Yes.
One question that we had, I think it was from Julie, wanted to know, when you met those social workers or counselors who really did make a difference to you, what was different about what they were doing versus what some of the other, professionals who you encountered were doing to help you?
I'm gonna go with, I had the one counselor. I think she went above and beyond for me. I believe that, I don't know what the background is, when they go in the back offices and they get the files. Um, I believe she was just doing her job, and she was doing what that folder told her to do. I feel like she tried as much as she could. Um, I don't think she went for the whole adopt me out thing for me. I think it was just more so, I'm a teenager, place her where, she may fit in. Was it ever a time where I felt like, okay, this could work, where I feel safe? Just that one time when I lived on base with the one, and I was there for, I believe I was there with her for about a year. And that was the closest thing besides, YGB to family that I could experience. She was awesome. I mean, I knew exactly at that point what it felt like. And then they came and snatched it right from me because of something I did as a kid. I was out running with my friends, and I hadn't came in the house that night. And my caseworker came to the house and she said, "Oh, well, I got to take you now." And me and the foster mother at the time, we cried together because as a kid, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna skip school. You're gonna, it's gonna be a lot of dumb stuff as a teenager that you do. And a lot of times when you're in foster care, they don't see it like that. They see that as, oh, she's a troubled teen, move her to another institute. When it had just took a simple conversation would have changed something, or even a punishment. Made me write 50 sentences would have been accurate enough to keep me from skipping school, instead of removing me from somewhere that I felt like this lady really cared.
Yeah, I'm sure that was extremely difficult. And actually, one of our viewers wanted me to ask, Daquana, how do you feel your life might have been different if you had found a permanent family when you were a teenager?
It would have been different because I wouldn't have ended up in prison. I did 7 years, because I felt like I was in 25 group homes. They literally prepped me for prison. I'm not saying my actions, I'm a hold to my actions, but that helped me spiral out of control was the fact that I had nobody to tell me that's not it. That's not the way you do things, and to this day that bothers me because I could be going through something and all I have is myself to talk to. I can't talk to my kids. They're kids. Why would I want to overwhelm them with everything I'm going through? You know what I mean? So yeah, that, I don't know. That's all I have to say on that. Rico, you can add to that.
Now, I'll answer the first question about the social worker. What did she do? So, technically, I'm not supposed to be saying this, but I think I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. But my social worker, what she did was she did her job well, but she also went far, far, far and beyond. There were things that the agency just was very moving. There were things the agency was moving extremely slow on. There were things the agency did not want to even participate in at all. And she reviewed my entire caseload, and she thought to herself, "Well, this should not. This has been going on for way too long, and this shouldn't take this much time." So the things that she noticed that were just being pushed back, and pushed back, and pushed back, and people were just getting over, she took care of those things. She even spent some of her own money, excuse me, and got me some things that I needed, as far as information and things like that about myself. She got me things like my birth certificate. She got me, she went far and beyond. And she made sure that I got everything that I was supposed to have, regardless of them telling her, we don't do that, or you can't do that, or call this person or call that person. She did that. She followed the rules. And when everyone was giving her pushback, like, oh yeah, next week and next week and next week, she came to me and she said, well, I reached out to all these people and I'm supposed to get back this information. This person, I feel like they're playing games with me. This person doesn't seem to care at all. This person, this and that. And she said, you know what? We're going to hire a lawyer and we're going to do it ourselves. Or she's, and at the time I was getting in trouble. I had gotten in trouble with the law and things like that. And long story short, she went far beyond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think I remember you saying the other day, Rico, that, if it wasn't for the people who, stepped up to the plate for you, that, you might have ended up in jail at some point, that, having that support did make a difference in the direction that you took in life, right?
Yes, because I was already there. When I moved, I'm from Brooklyn and I was moved to the Bronx. So when I moved to the Bronx, things were a lot different. So and I had to survive. I was a brown kid speaking Spanish, so that kind of helped me survive a little bit. But I remember taking falls for people to gain respect from the neighborhood. So I was already in the lifestyle of never joined a gang in my life, but I was definitely around them a lot. I spent, so my mom made me feel silly about being gangster. She used to make me feel silly about it. So she used to say things like, she would hear me cursing and she would say, "You don't even sound right. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?" So I would say something like, "What you mean? I'm a gangster. Like, I'm banging." She'd be like, "Banging? You must have banged your head on the wall, boy. You don't even sound right. You need to calm down." And so she used to talk to me like that, and then say things like, "You have to think about how you look when you're doing these things. When somebody's viewing you, you have to think about how do you want to be perceived when people see you." And I'm like, I want to be known as a gangster. And that was a state of mind. But as time progressed, I began to think about it more and more. How do I want people to see me? How do I want people to see me? So I stopped sagging my pants, started buying polo shirts, and my wardrobe changed, and then so on and so on. And now I'm advocating for youth at city council, and I'm speaking at John Jay, and we're speaking at different high schools like Crest Hill, I can't remember the school, Calhoun, different places like that, So I'm thankful that she was not afraid of me. She was not intimidated by me at all. I would be with my friends outside talking gangster, or I would have 10 people in my bedroom at one time hanging out, and she would just come in and shut it down. And a lot of times she did allow me to have company. She was very fun like that. She allowed me to live my life, but she did have boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like maybe some of those dad jokes and mom jokes actually, serve a purpose in parenting, huh?
A little bit, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Well, great. I know that, Rico, one of the things that you do now is Quarantine and Chill. You take over the YGB Instagram, right? Every Friday afternoon. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I take over the entire thing for about an hour. And I interview youth about, I interview alumni and also youth that may still be in foster care that are willing to share their story. And they talk about, their trauma. They talk about some of their successes, their talents, and different things like that. I think everyone should check it out. It's fun. We play a game at the end of every session. People win gift cards and things like that. But the part that I enjoy the most of it all is being able to connect with the youth and being able to hear the stories and allowing them to let everyone out there that's like us to know that you're not alone. You're not the only one going through that situation. You could, hang in there. Something's gonna change for you eventually. Something's gonna come through. And for those who are with families, they can get it in a better understanding that maybe these people are, really good people. Maybe I should just lay back a little bit and go kayaking or something. I don't know, with the family, then really just have fun. Bumper cars, just a simple picnic and Prospect Park, Central Park, you know, and just kind of relaxing and not having to watch over your back every 2 seconds. I remember you doing that a lot, walking down the street and looking over my shoulder every 2 minutes. Just people would say, "Why you keep doing that?" Because I'm gangster. Nah, man, like you scared. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's what I do. So every Friday we're there. Every Friday from 6 to 7 o'clock, and we have different guests every week, and the stories just get better and better, deeper and deeper. And definitely tune in and check it out. For those who are watching, please tune in, and trust me, you'll enjoy the show. You'll enjoy the music also, because sometimes we have a little music, but you'll
Right.
definitely enjoy it, and you'll be touched. I guarantee you'll be touched. You can check us out at YGB NYC on Instagram, and you'll have you gotta believe at NYC. Excuse me, NYC at on Instagram. Yeah.
Great,
So
great.
check it
Thank
out.
you, Rico.
Yep.
All right, and I have one last question for both of you, which is actually from a parent who's in classes, training classes right now with You Gotta Believe.
Nice.
So, you know, what advice do both of you have to someone who's considering becoming a foster or adoptive parent, you know, wants to get prepared? You know, what do you say to them?
Work on yourself first.
Nice one. I'm gonna say, listen to them. You know, take it as this is the kid you birthed. You know, if you're getting into this, you're gonna act like you just walked out the delivery room and your baby probably 10 when you get it, you know, or whatever the case is. But it's a life event. Like,
Yes.
this is not something you can change overnight. You know, you may find kids that are, you know, more emotional, or you may find kids that are like, you know, they act out because of stuff they've been through. That doesn't make them a bad kid. That just they need a little bit more attention. That's it. You know, and really care. Don't just do it for the money and just the ideal of the attention of I'm a foster parent. Really put the work in, and you'd be surprised. Like, just what a hug can change, what an I love you can change, and not more so of the you know, the fashionable designer clothes and stuff like that. That doesn't matter. Honestly, I didn't even want that as a kid. I just wanted somebody to tell me that they was there and they would never leave me, and that they got me through all of this, you know. But that never happened for me. But I'm happy for you, Rico, because you found that, you know. But so yeah, that's what I can give, is just really care. Don't get into it if it's just for the check, or, you know, because it's not going to turn out right, and you're just damaging kid after kid after kid. So
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that all the parents who tuned in are really glad to hear from you, what they can do to do their best. And I'm just so glad that I got to share tonight with you and with everyone who's watching. This was a fantastic conversation. Really couldn't have asked for more. And I'm going to hand it back over to Jennifer Pinder now, who is the executive director of You Gotta Believe, who started us off. And she's going to make some closing remarks. So thank you, Rico DeQuana, for being here. It was awesome.
no problem. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Wow, I am just blown away by this conversation, and just owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to you, DeQuana, to you, Rico, for agreeing to be so vulnerable and being brutally honest. These are the stories that need to be heard. I think you really came across very powerfully, and I know a lot of people are listening. There were a lot of reactions in the chat. So thank you so much for doing that. And Megan, thank you for moderating, and not only just moderating, but for continuing to use your platform to highlight these issues related to foster care and adoption. Thank you all. This has just been an amazing discussion. And I'd also like to thank the audience for taking the time to listen. And also there's so much activity in the chat. I'm so excited and encouraged by that. Thank you for those who have already donated. I hope that hearing these firsthand experiences about foster care, one of someone who aged out without the support of a family, and another one who was able to connect with family, we hope you gain a better understanding of the importance of having a permanent family for the rest of your life. And to that end, I want to encourage you once again to text or click to donate And while you're doing that, I will provide some details on how your contributions will help us. If you donate $250, that will help a youth pay for rent. $100 will help you pay for bills, whether it's groceries or a cell phone bill. $50 will help you buy supplies for school or perhaps travel to school. And be mindful that these donations are for youth who have aged out without the support of a family network, which is especially important right now in the midst of a global pandemic. They need an added layer of support during these difficult times. And, you know, any amount is very helpful and will help to contribute to the mission of You Gotta Believe. And another way that you can get involved is participate in a parent orientation. You know, our parents are so important, and just know that participating in orientation is not a full commitment to be a parent. It's just an opportunity for you to understand the process. And then you can take it from there. Just go to our website and click on the parent orientation page, enter your information, and someone will follow up with you. If you have been so inclined to donate while we're still live and on the air, drop it in the chat and let us know so we can all celebrate together. You don't have to let us know what the amount is, just let us know that you donated so we can show our appreciation. While you're doing that, I'll just let you know a couple more ways before we close out how you can contribute to You Gotta Believe's efforts, which are pretty easy. You can sign up for our newsletter. Again, go to our website for more information about that. If you are anything like me and you order everything under the sun from Amazon, you can identify You Gotta Believe as a recipient to receive a percentage of the money that you spend at Amazon. Also, if you work for a company that provides corporate matches, then ask your company if they can provide a match for You Gotta Believe. All of these actions will be very helpful and appreciated for us. So I see some donations flowing through the chat, and we are just beyond grateful. And, you know, I'm still learning, you know, who is supporting YGB, and I'd love to engage with all of our donors and just to find out what your motivation is to support our amazing organization. So we do want to thank you for taking the time to join us. And we would like to hear your feedback on how this event went. And so we will be sending you a survey that will take less than a minute to finish. We would love to get some feedback so we can continue to shape these events in a way that is meaningful to our growing audience. And we hope that you can join our next virtual event, which will take place on November 17th. So mark your calendars. It will involve 2 surprise celebrity guests. I can't say who, but if you want to stay in the loop and get notification about this event and more details and who our surprise guests will be sure to sign up for the newsletter or drop your information in the chat, and we'll be able to update you on all of that. So once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for being so engaging and for listening. And most of all, thank you for your donations. Have a good night and be safe.